Yeah, real quick, George got something interesting. Does anyone else think that Lootas plus Grot Shield is a bit OP? 150 shots and the unit can still not be targeted. Is that OP?
It always
No.
gets 150 shots.
Well, he's just talking about like to clear out all the Grots, you know, like or if the unit can get
Oh.
150 shots. I guess is what he means. Yeah, but
No,
you can target the unit. You can target the unit with a psychic phase, and you can, if you have Dark Eldar, you can actually just stop that stratagem.
There's also like a lot of ways that you can get around it. Like if you just want to be able to kill things, take firepower. This is 8th edition. Is a Castellan OP from just firepower? Is 3 tank commanders? Shooting OP is, you know, Sean, I would say, what does Eldar have for shooting? But you don't run guns. But like, there's just so many things in the game that is just.
I've got like 14 guns now. In my
That's right.
Oof.
13 of which are sniper rifles. Like,
but to George, I don't want to downplay his sentiment. We did outline that the Grot Shield from the very first preview was probably one of the strongest things in the decks for survivability. And we're about to see exactly how strong with 800 people at LVO. About to see exactly how difficult that army is to beat. And GW has now a history in this edition of taking a look at these people at the top 8 and what is in common. We'll see.
Look, spoiler alert.
The big thing with Lootas is the amount, and this has been 8th edition and the last few editions, how much terrain are you playing with on your board? Because if you're playing on Planet Bowling Ball, you're playing standard Adepticon terrain, then Lootas are OP. But if you're playing LVO terrain, which is probably the closest
the Grot Shield is just
8th edition wants, then Lootas go down a degree in power because they don't ignore line of sight. So they have fire lanes and they're powerful. But if you can use terrain effectively and maneuver your way up the board, a lot of their ability gets cut down.
Well, I absolutely agree. Furthermore, spoiler alert, if you didn't know, orc armies can't survive without boys. If they don't preserve them to teleport to them later, pick up every boy and tell me if the looters matter. There's not an orc player in the history of that said, I finished the game with my looters and I won. Like, that doesn't happen. The Lootas do what they. The Castellan does what it does, and then it dies. The Lootas die. They're used to playing without them. Tell me a Magnus and Morty list that ever didn't lose both Primarchs and still won the game.
No, it's a great. I think Sean also makes a good point. I think it goes the other way too. If you're every game of 40K you play is Planet Bowling Ball, and so everyone's standing there, including the Lootas, and now they don't get targeted, but everything else does. Even if they don't shoot things, there is an imbalance there for your personal meta, right? Like, whereas even if there was terrain, they would be hiding behind terrain, then they'd move out, right? So, like, it definitely comes down to terrain, 100%, the way people are playing in your area.
For anybody who's got direct fire, like a Luda versus, you know, indirect fire, I mean, yeah, don't get bogged down. There's so many times where it's like running 18 Hive Guard. If you roll really good on their to hits and D3 damage, but the Lootas are going to let you down a lot of games, you know, out of 6 or 8 games, they're not always going to roll a 3. That's actually, Kenny, reasons why you didn't like when the Codex first came out, because such a high variable number, and you're an expert at playing variable number of strength, AP, and damage with Slanesh Obliterators. So you know how damning it is when you roll max out 5s and 6s.
If Obliterators roll what they're supposed to roll, they'll kill a Beyblade with your with your combos, right? So you're like, that's pretty good, but then sometimes they don't roll that, and then sometimes you use a command point reroll and they still don't roll that, and then that's only 190 points though.
Yeah, Kenny, tell me the last 6-round tournament you ever went to that they performed 10 out of 10 every game.
Fuck, that never happened.
Right? Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I truly believe. Now, I might be eating crow, but it doesn't matter. Like, I'm down to say it. I believe that going into LVO, I think orcs are going to be nothing more than a gatekeeper list. Now, at 800 people, you are going to have some easier matchups because there's the volume of people. But, like, at the end of the day, when power meets the pavement, man, you can't tell me that. You know, unless the dice just decide to roll nothing but 5s and 6s in the turn in which you get your hard matchups.
You lose those games anyway if your opponent's just rolling 5s and 6s. So the Lootas don't matter.
Yeah, that's a great point. It doesn't matter.
But I will. But also not to validate George, I will say this. I do think it's a little weirdly worded, the Gretchen Shield. I think it's a little weirdly worded I think that like it being an open-ended stratagem, that like any Gretchen unit being closer. Like I always thought it was intended to be like a Gretchen unit. So, like you could focus down and you would have like 20 ablative wounds before they could start interacting with you. Not like every fucking Gretchen unit in the army is closer. So I do think that it's a little wacky, and I wouldn't be surprised that if like miraculously these Lootas spammed the top 8, that GW made an adjustment to that stratagem.
Yeah,
I mean, it's certainly a powerful stratagem, but I think some people in chat have said on Twitch that if you use it for 3 turns, you're out of CP.
Yeah, and then you double shoot the Lootas, and then you mob up, and you do, it's...
But, like, I mean, at that point, again, if your army is just sitting there trying to trade fire with them, you might be dead. You got to get something fast, get in there and touch them. Because they don't have a way to fall back and shoot, so if you can get somebody to touch the Lootas, then the game's afoot. Yeah,
and my last thing, because I know Rob has got so many things to talk about, but let me just tell you, in the mind of an orc player, their plan is to shoot you when they have the most amount of targets, because attrition hasn't happened yet. They have the most amount of CP, so they can Death Blossom attack when they will. During that time, don't try to engage them. Pick up the boys that are getting ready to touch you. And then when turn 3 happens and all their steam and gas is let out of the air, out of the tires, then they have no boys and they have no CP to buff up their orcs.
Yeah, someone in the chat said they come with 18 CP basically. Let me see who that person is. That's so 18 CP. There it is. Grim Hokage. So like 18 CP. 5 to do the first turn combo, 4 to do it in 2 turns. You've depleted half your CP in 2 turns. So you only have 9 left. Now you have to keep 3 so that you can fight twice with your war boss. Right?
You have
to keep 3 to fight when he dies. So there's 6 CP that aren't even in your pool. So you have 3 CP left, and you're probably gonna teleport somebody.
And we've already lost Green Tide. Did you have to make anybody fearless? Did you have to did you
mob up a different unit of orcs? Like, I mean, besides the initial fucking Lootas? Like, you're literally 2 turns. Like, if you budget your CP like most orc players do, you get to do that shit twice, and you're out of fucking CPs.
Yeah,
you're burning out your other
CP. The 25 CP list, Grim Hokage, that like Steve Pamprine is running. It may seem like he has 7 more CP, but he also has a secondary combo where he's double shooting.
No CP are accounted for.
And when he's double shooting that attack gun, that's another 2 CP a turn, 3 CP a turn that he's rocking with that guy. So
then he had to
spend... the extra CP doesn't actually go that much further. He's still going to run out really quick.
That's true, and Sean, great point, because then he had to spend the extra CP to get the specialist attachment, the extra CP for that relic.
The reason he ran a brigade was because he knew he didn't have enough when he had 18 to run the new combo he theorized. So he had to build it into a brigade. Like, that was the whole point.